Hello, friends. I'm DJ Lance Rock, and I have to say, Rock and Roll Grad School is awesome!
This is Rock and Roll Grad School with your hosts, Heidi Hedquist and Luke Poling. When do they get to sing My Way?
Hello, kiddies. We are going to have a real good time together. We're talking with Andrew Browning, who has a new record coming out next month. How is it going where you are? You're in the Netherlands. Have you been hanging out with Sigur Rós and Björk? And I can't think of any Nordic artists. That's why I'm going out of country.
It's okay.
Okay.
Nope.
Ringing endorsement.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Street performers, musicians on every corner.
Yes, there have been a few.
All right. What are they? What's their
Lots of bikes.
Lots of bikes. What's the musicians? What's their genre du jour?
Classical.
Okay.
Lots of classical. Lots
All
of
right.
opera, lots of classical.
Okay, so I'm not wrong in thinking Nordic.
Well, I don't know. Are all Nordic people classical? ABBA's not classical.
ABBA's right. What do you think if you slipped him? Is it kroner? What's their money? Okay, slip them whatever their denomination is, and we're like,
It's Europe.
Army of me, do it. Do you think they could handle that?
It's Euro.
Okay, you're not answering my question.
I can't hear you because of the blow dryer.
Oh, sorry. Why do you say that like this is my fault?
You're late.
Listen, it's been a morning. There was a bird in the house. It was a whole thing.
Listen, Jodie Foster.
Oh my God. So Pancake somehow got her paw through the screen, grabbed a bird, brought it back into the house, at which case Warren and Francis were very excited. And I'm trying to be on a Zoom call for a company I have worked for approximately 10 hours at that point. And I have to mute it and say, excuse me, there's a bird in the house that the cat brought in. So welcome to my America.
Best present you've ever given me.
That is what?
This is the best present you've ever given me.
Oh my God. So we finally got it out.
I also feel like I'm not going to get any sympathy anymore. Not that you ever gave me sympathy, but yet.
What? I had great sympathy for Stevie. No, Christine.
Christine. No, I mean, for all the crazy drama that happens with the other things I have to work on beyond our
Right. Okay, fair, but
I kind of feel weirdly like joyful that you had to deal with all this and I didn't today.
There is no better excuse for signing off of a group call with 5 people than say, excuse me a second, I'll be right back. There's a bird loose in my house and everyone's losing their mind.
Yeah, that sounds about like every day.
Yeah. So yeah, the new single comes out today.
Yeah, Jay, it dropped today, and so we've got advertising campaign on it through social media and other outlets, and yeah, it's in all streaming platforms, as they say.
I was gonna say, so what's Econoline about? But I feel like I can guess.
Okay, well, so yeah, like I think so. Here's the thing. I think I heard Dave Grohl say one time. He said the great thing about a song is that 5,000 people could listen to it and all hear a different song, and so I don't know if I'd want to go into like exactly what it's about. I would say that the thrust of this new record is that. I think that, we get these fairy tales as children, right? That love sort of comes wrapped up in a Tiffany blue box with a white bow on it, right? That's, you know, and women get a lot more than men. Um, but I think that, you know, we learn pretty quickly that love and life are messy things, right? They're hard, they're messy, they're angry, they're selfish. And I think in those places there's beauty, right? And it is the messiness, it's the sadness, it's all those type of things that make it beautiful. Um, and what I would say is that Econoline probably partially inspired, or at least the first sort of ideas of it came to me after I watched a film called Nomadland, and I don't know if you ever saw that.
Hmm. Yeah.
But you know, just sort of this sort of demographic of an aging society of people who are sort of like, for a lack of a better explanation, forced out of the workplace, probably largely due to automation and computerization, and living in their vehicles and moving from place to place, and sort of the uh, requirements of companionship, or the companionship that occurs there, um, and that, you know, in these sort of hard scrabble existences, there's still beautiful things.
It's interesting you say it and put it that way, because I feel like listening to the record, even just reading the titles of some of the songs, there is definitely that, the hard won good time almost throughout it. But then, like I was just listening to Junk, and that is so much of, I mean, there's that line about hoist by your own guitar strings or something like, or hanging by your guitar strings. And I was like, this is the perfect, hoist by your own petard. And then just the opening rock and roll cocaine. I feel like it's sort of it's got that dual edge where it's like it's upbeat music, it's loud, but there is some I don't know if it's instant regret or regret underneath it. Do you think that's
I
there?
I think I think I am sort of the things that are interesting to me. I think a lot of artists, of any medium, are oftentimes interested sort of in these gray areas. And I'm probably different. I'm much more interested in the binary qualities of existence, you know, good and bad, love and hate, uh, you know, light and dark, birth and death, and those type of things. And so I think that what I'm exploring in a lot of those, and in a lot of my songwriting, are the push and pull of the extremes, I think, of the human existence. And maybe also probably sort of our individual experience with those things, and I think ultimately our inability to escape them. I mentioned earlier that, you know, the moment we're born, we sign a contract with death, right? And so
Right.
those types of things, those opposing forces, and the friction they create, I think are sort of what I'm exploring there.
Is that something you intended to explore, or was it sort of you start looking at a few of the songs and they start telling you this is really what this is about? What was that discovery process like?
I think on the you know, in broad strokes, I'm probably always touching on that, right? That's
Hmm.
just sort of
Your
I
milieu.
yeah, you know, I was raised as a child in a pretty conservative Catholic family, and so even though I'm not a particularly religious guy at all, I'm still sort of a hammer and nails guy when it comes down to it. Um, and So yeah, I think I'm probably in a broad sense always exploring that. I think the for the album, you know, Love is a Beautiful Thing, this time it's sort of zoomed in on what I thought were, you know, the beautiful aspects of love that sort of pop up in these sort of harsh environments, and that there was no, I wasn't sort of thinking conceptually, okay, I'm gonna, write all these songs and this is sort of where I'm going. I'm much more um uh sort of fluid about it, where I just sit down and I start writing, and my process of writing sort of evolves over time. And I think probably, like most songwriters, you write a lot of songs, right? And not all of them stick, not all of them get finished. But this time around, that sort of theme of love amidst, the rubble sort of was what started to come up.
Interesting. I mean, it's how much other stuff did you write? How much do you usually accumulate for a record? Or just these the best ones that kind of played well with each other, and the other ones are the kind of runts of the litter?
Yeah, it's a really good question. So I think I have one of these things which
Yep.
everybody got, right? And usually what will happen is when I actually, once the well fills up again, if you like, and I start writing, I generally just have my flat top guitar, and I'll have my whatever that dictation software is called on this thing. And
Mhm.
I'll just sort of start spitting out ideas, and there may be, hundreds of them. And then I get to a point where I feel like, I've sort of exhausted these sort of outline ideas, and then I'll go back and start sort of refining, listening back to these sort of very rough sketches and saying, oh, that's got some potential. I really like that. And well, this doesn't really have anything. I keep everything, but I'll go through and I'll sort of go through a filtering process, and then sort of try to refine the ones I like until I have, what would sort of resemble a song. And then go through there and do another culling process, until I get down to what I think is maybe an album's worth of material, say 8, 10, or 12, or, it's usually not like 15 songs or anything like that. And then I will demo them sort of on my laptop using, Pro Tools, or, whatever I'm using that time, um, to get, reasonable demos with orchestration and things like that. I'll do that a few times. And then on this record, along with the previous two records, I worked with Derek O'Brien, who produced the record. Um, and then we'll go in and we'll demo them with a full band, and do some arrangement and things like that. And then we'll go through for the final recording. So I actually go through like a very sort of layered process from beginning to end. Um, I think generally because I'm driven um, toward, I'm always trying to make order out of the chaos. There's some people who go into the studio, um, and I've heard these stories, where people go in and just improvise the entire record from soup to nuts. I mean, I think I heard that Tom Petty did that on a record or something like that, and that petrifies me. So what I really try to do is get in with as much as I can get done, and then sort of will go through sort of the finished carpentry, to by the time we get to recording.
And then was this record with the 9 Pound Hammers? Is 9 Pound Hammers a more of a idea than an actual group?
Yeah, so the musicians move around. I think it's fair to say. Originally it didn't, but as time went on, it did. And so yeah, it's a fluid group of musicians, I guess you'd say, more of an idea. A lot of them, I definitely engage with a lot of the same players, but people are working all the time. Oftentimes they're on the road. So one of the guys, I think you had John Burrison on from Robert John and the Wreck a few weeks ago, and
Hmm.
Nick Abernathy, who plays in that band, played on this record. And so, I get him when I can get him. But if he's on the road with Robert John and the Wreck, I get somebody else. So oftentimes it's by necessity. that I'm using different players, but I also like it because I want the music to change every time. I don't sort of want to have this formula where I'm like, wow, this is really great. Let's just keep, rinsing and reusing that. So part of it is to sort of push myself into different areas stylistically and thematically, um, so that there's variation along the way.
And and when you get those, I mean, it sounds like sort of in some ways somebody's on the road, someone's got a gig, um, that it's almost an opportunity to be like, well, let's get somebody else and see what they can do. Do you like that kind of, do you try to go out and find someone who you think will kind of push you or push the song? Or do you like someone where it's like, I just want to all get along and get something nice out of this?
Yeah, no. I definitely want somebody who'll push the song, and then and sometimes that, sometimes I'll embrace the risk of it. So there was, I had a show a few months back, and you know, Jake was out on the road, and the other two of the other B3 players that I use all the time weren't available. So I filled it in with a pedal steel player, and
Oh,
um, he was great, but we just didn't have a chance to rehearse it more than right before the show, right? And I'm like, okay, we got the pedal steel covering all the B3 parts, and it was great. It was really good. And yeah, so I think that taking that risk is really important. And at the same time, I'm still always trying to create order out of the chaos. So it's probably good for me to have that, to loosen me up. But yeah, anytime I can get somebody to come in and push it in a different direction, push me in a different direction, and make the risks happen, I think it's really important.
yeah. So you don't do the Dylan thing of just start playing in the studio and make everybody watch your hands to figure out what the hell the chords are.
No, I don't. And it's not a bad idea to try to do that. I'm not really great at sitting around and getting the charts and the orchestration, everything together. And when I have to have that, I hire somebody to do that. So I'm not beyond walking in saying, here's a song, let's all learn the song, and these are the chords. My songs probably have, like, between 3 and 5 chords in them, so it's not a big
Well,
deal.
don't sell the
But
bridge
I'm
short. Maybe there's a sixth in there.
Yeah, maybe, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's sort of not the Bob Dylan school, yeah, where he walks in and he's just got the songs and they run with it. But maybe on the next record I'll try that, right? Because certainly it's worked for Bob Dylan for an entire career, and it's
Well,
great stuff.
yeah, but let's not forget that the 80s were a sloppy era. I don't know the last time you listened to Knocked Out Loaded. It's what I'm saying. It's
Yeah,
just,
yeah, no doubt.
um as far as these songs, I mean, how do you look at these records? Is a sort of an archival process, this is the best version of this we can do, or do you like getting them out on the road and kind of seeing where else you can take these things? Do you like that kind of, this is what
I
this is
think well,
tonight?
I think when we're playing them out, they evolve. I'm there. There's definitely a big part of me that, I'm driven certainly by hooks, which I think come out on those records, and not just the hooks that make up a chorus or a bridge or something like that, but there'll be a certain guitar part that's clearly a hook in the song, and it's really important for me when we're playing live to hit those things just like they are on the record. I also, though, want to give everybody the freedom to sort of explore within that, right? So it's not, the I'm really into high quality control, but not to the point where it becomes stale, right? So
Hmm.
I think it's important to give the performers some freedom to explore themselves on stage. And I think people like that too, right? So you like the record, you like the way it sounds. So, if I listen to a Foo Fighters record and I go see, the Foos live, it's going to sound like the record, but it'll be the record plus plus. And
Yeah.
I think that that's what we're trying to do when we're out doing it.
What number album is this for you?
This
This-
is this is number 3.
Do you feel comfortable in the studio now? Do you feel like you understand it, or is it still a
I
beast
love
to
it.
be tamed?
No, no, no. So and I know people have different sort of feelings about it. Uh I love the writing process. I love the recording process, and I love playing live. I mean, they're all different things, but I don't necessarily have a preference for one over the other. I'm most comfortable probably writing, right?
Mhm.
Because I'm by myself, and I'm doing this thing and it's solitary, and it's sort of like writing in my diary, right? And then the thing that I worry about in a recording studio is certainly getting the interpretation I want out of everybody, but I'm probably most critical of my own performance, my own guitar playing, my own singing. And then that's the thing that creates the anxiety for me. And then playing live, I think especially when we're first getting out with new material, is just the anxiety you have, right before you hit, and then, everything explodes and you're feeling great, right? And then as you're sort of, the more you play, the more you get through it, the more it's in the pocket, right? The more comfort it is. But I always, always before I'm on stage, I have some amount of anxiety, which I think is sort of helpful. Um,
Mhm.
if there's a time before I get on stage and I don't have a little bit of anxiety, then I'm sort of worried that maybe it won't go so well. That's like a sign of everything is right if I have a little bit of anxiety before we hit.
No, I mean, you hear about Bill Russell having to throw up before every game. And if he didn't, the rest of the team got super worried because they're like, no, you got to go do this. Like, if he didn't have those nerves, it wasn't going to be as great a performance. Was that balance of enjoying all three kind of areas of music, was that always there for you? Or did you sort of come around to one? Did you always like songwriting? Did you always like playing out equally? Or was it
Yeah.
sort of,
Yeah, yeah, I've really always enjoyed all the aspects of that, and the in other bands that I've played in, the studio can sometimes become like not a nice place if people are fighting a lot, sort of scratching for their ideas. Um, but generally speaking, yeah, I've always really enjoyed sort of that those three parts of the whole, and I think they give me a different thing, each one of them.
mhm.
I don't know. I don't know how I would articulate that, but generally when I'm writing, all I want to be doing is writing, and then when I'm done writing, and I'm recording, sort of all I want to be doing is recording, and then when we're playing out, that's all I want to be doing. So I'm not I sort of like to do everything sequentially. If I had to do that all in parallel, it might be a little confusing for me. So I compartmentalize each one of those pieces.
So you're not like, or are you sitting around and jotting down in a notebook or phrases or ideas throughout, or is it just sort of you open that
I
door when you're ready to?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I open that door when I'm ready to do it. Every once in a while, I will. I'm a great observer of people, right? I'm always observing people and observing things, and I'm always listening. And certainly, I'll hear something fall off of somebody's lips, and I'll think, "Wow, that's a really great line," and I'll text it to myself.
Mm.
I'll hear it in a conversation or something like that. The the line "smoke and grinding gears" came out of my wife's mouth, explain explaining my son's performance in school. She said, "Well, I don't know, there's just a lot of smoke and grinding gears right there." And I thought, holy shit, that's a title of a song. And
Yeah.
and I wrote it down immediately. I texted it to myself, and then I didn't even look at it for months and months. So that does happen sometimes, but I know that there are a lot of people who sort of walk around with a notebook, and they're always sort of practicing that craft, right? Practicing writing those things down. And I guess my process is sort of a little bit different than that. I sort of decide when there's oil in the ground to, put the drill down and see if we can get the geyser.
Love is a Beautiful Thing by Andrew Browning is available November 22nd, wherever you get your music. For more information, check him out online at andrewbrowning.net, and you can find him at facebook.com/andrewbrowning and the number 9 Pound Hammers.
World Grad School is produced by the Professional Production Company. Please be sure to rate and review us on Apple Podcasts, because your impassioned review is just as honest as us standing backstage waiting to come back on for the encore. For more information, you can check out our website, rockandrollgradschool.com. And like everyone else, we're on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
Today's show was recorded and produced by Heidi Hedquist and myself from our world headquarters located on the second floor of the professional office building, centrally located downtown. Our reluctant executive producers are John Sauvé and Sandy Stone. Our willing executive producers are Rachel Allen and Randy Jeanette. Our intern is Zach Jackson. This one's for Philippe. Thanks for joining us. Good night, drive safe. May all your favorite bands stay together.
Keep me warm in the kind of line. You and me, we're all alone, trying to survive in the wild on the main line. I roam from place to place, from job to job with low pay. The family I've got is the family I've made. I've got a gun to keep me safe.